to the channel. I'm back to break down this 15-game MLB DFS slate on DraftKings and FanDuel. Before we get into the breakdown, if you do enjoy the content at any point in this video, if you could please take a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. That way you don't miss any future content that I upload. That would be in your best interest. It helps me out greatly as well. Greatly appreciate the support, guys. I'll be here all MLB DFS season long, breaking down these MLB DFS slates to help you guys become better MLB DFS players, help you guys win some money night in and night out if that's something you're interested in. Going to want to go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, helps me out. And lastly, don't forget to stay tuned to the end of the video for my home run call of the day, the guy that I'm picking to go deep. And if you are interested in some further premium content from me, I do offer that. It's linked below in the description. You get access to all the same tools that I use when building my own MLB DFS lineups. I think that's going to be well worth the investment for you. Go ahead and check that out. And with that being said, let's go ahead and start breaking down the slate today. As always, let's go ahead and start my sheet by carry. It's fantasy sports. We get points for strikeouts. And the top guy on the slate today is going to be Corbin Burnes taking on the St. Louis Cardinals. He comes in with a 36.1% K overall, 39.3% carry against righties, and a 33.3% carry against lefties. Very good in the hard contact, slugging across the board as well, has been dominant all season long. And he's taking on a St. Louis squad tonight in St. Louis, which is a great pitching ballpark. Big upgrade from the ballpark that he pitches from in his home stadium. As always, the sheet that I like to pull up for you guys. A lot of red going on here in Busch Stadium, and we like to target that. And then as far as the Cardinals are concerned, they do have quite a few strikeouts throughout this lineup. Don't really scare me at all with that 3.16 implied run total. Corbin Burnes a 156 favorite, and he's definitely going to be a top option on this slate today. He comes at 11.5 on FanDuel. Over on DraftKings, they have him priced at 10.2. Looking at his recent performances last time out, he had 15 Ks against that Chicago Cubs team, 0 earned runs over 8 innings pitched. That's the kind of dominant stuff that this guy can display when he is on point, and I expect him to have another good game tonight. Gotta like him. Second on the list, we have Luis Gil, only an 11 innings pitch sample size with a 32.6% K overall, a 36.4% K rate against righties, and a 28.6% K rate against lefties. Very, very good so far, but as mentioned, it's really a limited sample size, and he has to take on a Boston squad tonight that has been red hot, and is really not the easiest matchup from a strikeout aspect. Also, this game will be featured only on the DraftKings slate because it's a 7 innings doubleheader game. So just keep that in mind. If you want to go to him, he's 7K over here on DraftKings. He was on 88 pitches his first time, 92 pitches the second time. He's had 8Ks, 6Ks with 0 earned runs in both starts. Has looked really good early on, but keep in mind he was taking on Seattle and Baltimore, both pretty friendly matchups. It's the toughest matchup he had to face so far tonight in Boston. If you really believe in the talent, you could definitely go there. He's definitely at a discount, but just keep in mind all of those disclaimers. We have Ronaldo Lopez taking on the Oakland Athletics, recently returning. He's priced all the way down to 5.2, and looking at his recent performances, he's been right around like 50 pitches a game. Whether or not he's actually going to push his pitch count up that much is to be determined. I'd expect him to be either saying 60 to 75 pitches. At 5.2, if you want to go there, maybe you could get the discount over on DraftKings. As far as FanDuel is concerned, 6K. I'm really not sure that you can be playing a guy that's on that much of a pitch count. He does have good stuff overall, really good strikeout stuff. He does give up quite a bit of hard contact from, years past. But if you want to go to him, just keep in mind, he's going to be limited. He's at a discount, but he's going to be limited, so it's a little bit tough to be going there on such a huge slate. We do have Alek Manoah taking on the Washington Nationals, a 29.3% K overall, a 13.2 swing strike rate, 25.9% K rate against righties, and a 32.5% K rate against lefties. That's pretty good across the board. And he's taking on a Washington Nationals team tonight that has really taken a hit. They've gotten rid of some of their top talent. Trey Turner's now gone. Looking at this lineup up and down, it's not quite nearly as effective. They only have a 3.84 implied run total, and Alek Manoah is a 2.11 favorite. We always want our pitchers to get that win, of course, in our daily fantasy sports lineups. He's 9.9 on FanDuel. Over on DraftKings, they have him priced at 8.6, so a nice discount compared to FanDuel over on DraftKings. Last time out, 114 pitches, 11 strikeouts against the Los Angeles Angels team. Showing lots of upside in his young, talented arm. Another guy you could definitely be looking to today. Drew Rossman taking on the Baltimore Orioles. He has a 29.2% K overall so far in 43 innings pitched with a 28.5% K rate against righties and a 30.6% K rate against lefties. And the Baltimore Orioles have been a team that we've been looking to target for quite some time now. They definitely do strike out their fair share as far as Rossman's pitch count. We can see he's been right around 50 pitches though. So I'm not really sure that, this is the same thing with Ronaldo Lopez. Expect 60 to 75 pitches from him. Nothing really more. He's cheap. If you really need that cheap pitcher because you really want to stack up on bats on DraftKings, I guess maybe you could be looking there. But, he's a 2.02 favorite. He's 5.6 on FanDuel. Pretty cheap. He does have good numbers across the board. It's just a pitch count issue. you're going to have to weigh the risk-reward here with the bats that you have in your lineup. That's what it comes down to. We have Huascar Ynoa taking on the Miami Marlins, a 27.9% K overall, 13.3 swing strike rate, a 27.9% K rate against righties, and a 28% K rate against lefties. Pretty good stuff across the board, and he's taking on a Miami Marlins team tonight in Miami, the best pitching ballpark in the league, arguably. Pulling up the diagram as far as Miami is concerned in Marlins Park. You can see a lot of red going on out there as far as home runs specifically. Ballpark is very forgiving to those deep fly balls. And, you know, it definitely has a lot of strikeout upside here. He's 8-4 on FanDuel over on DraftKings. They have him priced at, let's see, 7-3. Problem is he's coming off the IL in his last rehab start. So I wouldn't expect him to get too crazy here as far as pitches. Maybe around 80, another pitch count issue. I mean, last time he took the mound was back in May, and he threw, 93 pitches. But since then, he hasn't seen the mound. So dealing with a lot of those situations today, I tend to think you're going to want to try to find a situation where you're not dealing with that, of course. We talked about Corbin Burns at the top, maybe prioritizing him. We have Alek Manoah on the slate. Logan Webb taking on the New York Mets. He has really good ground ball, fly ball stuff. Top on the slate by far, 26% K overall, a 26.6% K rate against righties, and a 25.3% K rate against lefties. And taking on a New York Mets squad tonight in San Francisco. He is a 160 favorite. He's only 7-6 on FanDuel over on DraftKings. They have him priced at, let's see, Webb. He's 8-8, so a nice friendly discount for you over on FanDuel at only 7-6. As far as his recent performances, last time out, 91 pitches, 8 Ks, 0 runs, great performance. I'm not exactly sure why he got the dip in price over on FanDuel, but we'll take it. He's definitely a viable option, and as mentioned, we'll definitely take the friendly discount on FanDuel specifically in a great pitching ballpark in San Francisco. And definitely a good option tonight. We have Caleb Smith taking on the Philadelphia Phillies. A little bit of a high-risk, high-upside guy. He always has been. But he does have pretty decent K stuff at times. And the Philadelphia Phillies are known for striking out on this season. I've always mentioned they're not quite as bad as they were because they added in a few bats that don't strike out quite as much. But at the same time, they still don't really scare us for the most part. I mean, Ronald Reyes, the bottom of the order, is a guy that doesn't strike out. But you still have Andrew McCutchen, Alec Boehm, that strike out a bunch. Odubel Herrera, lefty on lefty. And after that, I mean, I guess it's not too bad. But Caleb Smith, a guy that, depending on the Vegas lines, maybe you could be looking to at a discount. Not getting too excited. We have Herman Marquez taking on the San Diego Padres. That's in Coors Field. This guy's been really good all season long. I guarantee he gets no ownership, and kind of for good reason. I mean, the San Diego Padres just really don't strike out. Even if he does a good job of pitching in this game, I have a feeling he's probably not going to have the most strikeouts. With that being said, though, he's continuously proved people wrong. He's got a really good arm, good talent, a 30.5% K rate against righties and a 21.4% K rate against lefties. And I continue to say that he's a great low-owned play when he's not expected to get ownership because of Coors Field, because that's the definition of a tournament play, especially on DraftKings. He's priced all the way down to 7-1. Last time out, he gave up 7 earned runs, but the time before 0-2 with 7 Ks and 7 Ks. And he's looked really good for the most part on the season. Let's take that discount over on DraftKings for sure. Bailey Ober taking on the Cleveland Indians. Really not the most talented arm in the world, but the Cleveland Indians lineup is dreadful now. They're rolling out a terrible lineup, a 25.5% K overall, 28.5% K rate against righties, and a 22.5% K rate against lefties. I wouldn't call you crazy if you want to go to him today because of this lineup. The Cleveland Indians only have a 4.3 implied run total. Ober is a 154 favorite. And this lineup's just striking out a ton. There's a few lineups throughout the league that have been trading away most of their talent. Rebuilding, I think Cleveland's one of those, and you could definitely be targeting them. With Bailey Ober, he's 7-2 on FanDuel over on DraftKings. They have him priced at 6-9. Similar price tags. The only problem is he's been right around 80 pitches and nothing more. We have another limited pitch count guy, which is, a little unfortunate. I'd like to say I really like him as a discount and a good high upside play, but with that being the case, not too sure I'm getting all too excited, especially when we have a guy like Chris Bassett who won't be limited, taking on a Chicago White Sox team that's also been striking out a bunch. They do have a bunch of power, but when they miss on swinging strikes, and 25.3% K overall, 24.8% K rate against righties, and a 25.8% K rate against lefties. Has been solid all season long. He's a 119 favorite. And as mentioned, these guys just strike out a bunch. He's 9-1 on DraftKings as far as his pitch count's concerned. He's been all the way up to the mid-90s most games. Last time out, cut short because of that blowout. They were up by a big margin. They ended up winning 17-0, so he got pulled pretty early, which is understandable. You don't want the guy's arm to get hurt in a game where you really don't need him out on the bump when you're up by that much. And He's been right around the mid-90s pitches typically. 7 to 8 Ks in 2004, taking on Texas to Los Angeles Angels. I think he gets another matchup here with the Chicago White Sox. Does a great job of keeping the ball on the ground, which is going to be important, taking on a team that can slug this much, especially from the right-handed side of the plate. And I think he kind of matches all the boxes. And then we have another guy in Adam Wainwright taking on the Milwaukee Brewers. Another great matchup where they strike out a bunch with a 22.9% K overall, 24.5% K rate against righties, and a 21.3% K rate against lefties. But most notably, keeps the ball on the ground, does a very good job. Similar. Should get a nice K boost here in this matchup. And should pay off for you, I think. Overall, he's 9.6 on FanDuel. Over on DraftKings, they have him priced at 9K. He's been right around mid-90s pitches, mid-80s on the games that he's not felt so hot, but 5, 6, 7 Ks the last few times out. Should go deep. The Milwaukee Brewers strike out a bunch, as already mentioned. Could definitely be looking at him. And then once we get past him, honestly, things start to get a little bit not so interesting. We have Dylan Bundy taking on the Detroit Tigers. They're another team you just have to continue to target because they've been that bad. And with Bundy's strikeout stuff, he can have high upside games. He's a little bit hard contact, ridden as far as that's what's going to give him trouble. But when he's taking on a Detroit Tigers team like he is tonight, if there was ever a time to play him, this might be the time. But they have a 4.89 implied run total, but we've just continuously seen below average pitchers go out there and pitch really good games against Detroit, and it's really hard to ignore. He's been anywhere from like 70 to 85 pitches. I tend to think that he can go up to like 90 if he's actually pitching good. And this might be the case where he can actually do it. So Dylan Bundy's not a bad option for you today as far as a salary relief option based on the matchup. That's really where things start to be not so interesting for me. Tyler Anderson taking on Texas, another matchup thing. Can definitely be looking at him. And Casey Mize taking on the Los Angeles Angels, another matchup where they've been striking out a bunch. They pretty much traded away the whole team. And then lastly, Vladimir Gutierrez taking on Chicago. Just keep in mind, obviously, these guys don't have the greatest case stuff in the world. So if you're going to them, you better have some bats that justify it. And I'm not saying that you can't, but just keep that in mind because we do have some pretty solid options in the mid-tier and in the upper tier. So let's go ahead and switch over to bats. As always, I like to go ahead and sort my sheet by K rate. Not K rate, Sierra. Skill interactive ERA, worst to best. It's a good way of determining how good a pitcher's been so far in the year and how good he's expected to be in the future. And the worst on the slate today is going to be Vladimir Gutierrez, the guy that I just said, taking on the Chicago Cubs. We do have a watered-down lineup, but the guy's giving up a 452 slugging to righties, a 430 slugging to lefties, just not good across the board. And the Chicago Cubs are a team that we could be targeting tonight. They only have a 4.2 implied run total, but they are in Cincinnati, the Great American Small Park. And, if there was ever a time to target this washed-up lineup, this might be it. Gutierrez priced all the way up to 8.7 on FanDuel, however. Over on DraftKings, they have him priced at 7K, so that's a big difference in price. The guy's given up 1 earned run the last 3 times out, 6.6, 4K. So you can make an argument that maybe he's turning things around. His numbers aren't really staying true. His early numbers aren't staying true to his actual talent. And that's where you got to make that decision. You could play the Cubs bet. You can go with Vegas and play Gutierrez. And like I said, the Cubs have been striking out a bunch. So I can really see both sides here. Daniel Lynch taking on the Houston Astros. Ground ball, fly ball stuff, not good. Hard contact stuff, not good. A 496 slugging given up to righties. Only a 300 slugging given up to lefties. So we really want to target the power righties on this Houston Astros team. And they definitely have some viable options on their team with guys like Jose Altuve, Carlos Correa, Yulieski Gurriel, Almani Diaz, Chas McCormick, Jake Myers, and Martin Maldonado. Then, of course, you can throw the lefties in your stack to be contrarian. If they get to that Kansas City Royals bullpen, the Kansas City Royals bullpen has been terrible all season long. So you got like the Houston Astros stack. Will Crow taking on the Los Angeles Dodgers. I'm guessing this is a spot that's going to garner a lot of ownership and for good reason. The guy has been terrible. Bad ground ball, fly ball stuff, bad hard contact stuff, a 579 slugging given up to righties. Only a 392 slugging to the lefties. Still not the best, but a lot better than his right-handed splits. So do prefer the right-handed bats when we're targeting him, but let's be honest, it's the Dodgers. The lineup's just absolutely loaded. This guy really doesn't scare me, and I'm going to have interest in all these Dodgers tonight. Trey Turner, Max Muncy, Justin Turner, Corey Seager, Will Smith, Chris Taylor, Cody Bellinger, Billy McKinney. I have interest all the way up and down. Billy McKinney in the 8th spot says something. The guy's not the most talented hitter in the world, but he's got a bunch of pop. The fact that he's in the 8th spot, a lot of lineups, he would not be all the way down there. And you got to like the Los Angeles Dodgers tonight for sure. Matt Straub taking on the Colorado Rockies. We only have about a 5 innings pitch sample size. He's really not a guy that scares us, though. He's taking on the Colorado Rockies team tonight. We're going to have to wait on the Vegas lines, but it's in Coors Field, the best hitting environment in baseball. It's 86 degrees with 12 mile-an-hour winds blowing out to center. That's great hitting weather. Definitely going to be a good spot for this Coors Field game. And then, as always mentioned, best hitting environment in baseball. You can see green across the board, huge outfield, easy to hit runs, elevated air in Colorado. all things match up in Colorado. So if you want to target this Rocky stack today, wouldn't call you crazy at all. Caleb Smith taking on the Philadelphia Phillies. We already mentioned he has some hard contacts issues. He does have some K-rate stuff. You can play him against the Phillies. You could definitely stack the Phillies. A 389 slugging given up to righties, a 478 slugging given up to lefties. Could be a sneaky spot to be targeting some Bryce Harper, a guy that does do pretty good lefty on lefty that won't get any ownership tonight. And, that's always something that I promote, especially in Arizona. It's a great ballpark to target left-handed power. Pulling up the diagram here down the right field line. Plays very, very friendly to left-handed hitters. So, Bryce Harper, sneaky play, and then, of course, the right-handed power. Gene Segura, JT Realmuto, Andrew McCutcheon, Alec Boehm, Didi Gregorius on the left-handed side of the plate, Ronald Reyes, Odubel Herrera. I'd mentioned maybe playing Caleb Smith, but I got to be honest, I think this Philadelphia Phillies team is going to have a pretty respectable total. The Arizona Diamondbacks bullpen's really bad, and I think that the Phillies stack could actually be pretty interesting tonight. I'm interested to see how much attention it gets, but the more I talk through this, I think they're going to be pretty nice stack. Kyle Gibson taking on Arizona. I'm really not interested in targeting anyone outside of the power lefties against him in this same stadium. It's going to be, Josh Rojas, Ketel Marte, Asdrubal Cabrera, David Peralta, Pavin Smith. They are getting pretty left-handed heavy, so you can target those lefties on Arizona. Kyle Hendricks taking on the Cincinnati Reds. Just really doesn't strike anyone out. Traditionally has done a very good job of limiting hard contact, keeping the ball on the ground. This year, he is giving up a 440 slugging to righties, a 536 slugging to lefties. Taking on a very dangerous Cincinnati offense tonight, and a guy that doesn't strike anyone out. I think you have to have interest in Cincinnati in the Great American Small Park, as mentioned. The Great American Ballpark, Cincinnati, a lot of green going out there as far as home runs, deep in the gaps. Great ballpark to target for hitting, and a great lineup to target with guys like Jonathan India, Red Hot, Tyler Naquin, Nick Castellanos, Joey Votto, Mike Moustakas, Kyle Farmer, Tucker Barnhart, and Akiyama. Just a loaded lineup up and down. Mainly the 1 through 6. Maybe 1 through 7. Tucker Barnhart has not been a bad bat this year. Shogo is just kind of like a power slap hitter. A contact slap hitter. If you want to put him in your line for salary relief, I wouldn't call you crazy, but he's, for power reasons and upside and all that stuff that we look for in tournaments, he's probably my least favorite option. Eric Fetty taking on Toronto is a guy that's really been struggling against lefties for the most part. Righties, he's been a lot more effective. Overall, he's just really not that great of a pitcher, though, to be honest. And the Toronto Blue Jays lineup's just absolutely loaded, so I'd be lying to you if I said we can't have interest here. You got to have it. They have a 5.66 implied run total. They're on the road. The Washington bullpen doesn't scare us, and the Washington Nationals ballpark is a great hitting environment as well. Pulling up the diagram here in Nationals Park. A lot of green going on both sides. Left-handed batters, right-handed power. Great hitting weather. 80 degrees, 5-mile winds blowing out to left field. Then we have a great lineup in George Springer, Marcus Semien, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Bo Bichette, Teoscar Hernandez, Corey Dickerson, Alejandro Kirk, and Espinal. Alejandro Kirk and Espinal are a little less interesting to me, of course, but once again, you can use them as salary relief as a wraparound stack. Up to Dickerson, you got to have a lot of interest in this lineup for sure. Dylan Bundy's giving up a lot of hard contact, taking on the Detroit team. I mentioned maybe targeting him. From a pitching aspect, we could definitely target the Detroit bats. They don't have the most loaded lineup, but when you're facing a guy that gives up a 518 slugging to righties and a 474 slugging to lefties, you got to have interest in him tonight. They have a 4.89 implied run total. Robbie Grossman's been quietly one of the best hitters in the league all year. Jonathan Scope, Miguel Cabrera, Heimer Candelario, Renato Nunez has a bunch of power. He's back now. Harold Castro, Eric Haas has a bunch of power. If the Detroit Tigers, especially if they're not getting ownership, I have a feeling whenever they have a high implied run total is when they tend to get ownership. Because in general, they just don't get much ownership because of the Detroit Tigers. But Tyler Anderson taking on the Texas Rangers, a guy that you really just want to target with right-handed power, very good against lefties. He's a left-handed hurler himself. And, the Rangers really don't have a lot of right-handed power. So if you want to target the Rangers righties, feel free. I'm not getting all too excited about it. You got Pozo, the catcher that's supposed to have a bunch of power, and Culberson in the 7th spot. Those are probably my favorite options, ironically, outside of Adolis Garcia in the 3 spot. Peter Fafella in the 2 spot, but lineup's just really not that good. I probably would lean towards targeting Tyler Anderson. Eli Morgan's been really bad all year. Ground ball, fly ball stuff is terrible. A 585 slugging given up to righties, a 447 slugging given up to lefties, and for that reason, you definitely have to have some interest in this Minnesota Twins offense tonight. They have a 5.2 implied run total. Max Kepler at the top of the order, starting to get hot, hitting some bombs consistently. Brent Rooker, Jorge Polanco, Josh Donaldson, Luis Arias, Mitch Garver, Miguel Sano, Jake Cave, and Andrelton Simmons. My least favorite by far would be Andrelton Simmons because he just really can't hit that well. But honestly, 1 through 8, they all have power. Can all get the job done for you. So as far as stacking them up, no issues 1 through 8. You can't throw in Simmons to be contrarian. Just realistically, he's not going to. He'll have a game every once in a while. He'll just come out of nowhere and hit a home run and a double. He puts up a big score, but it seems like a dime and a dozen. And, just take that for what it's worth. Taylor Hearn in that same game against Seattle really struggles against right-handed power. A 455 slugging giving up. Ground ball, fly ball stuff's not good. A 13.1% walk rate. There should be plenty of traffic on the bases if you want to go to the Seattle Mariners team with guys like Mitch Haniger, Ty France, Abraham Toro, Luis Torrens has a bunch of power, Tom Murphy has a bunch of power, and Dylan Moore has a bunch of power against lefties as well. So, could be targeting him. Casey Mize, very easy to break down. You want to target him with left-handed power, taking on the Los Angeles Angels. And the Angels have this one guy you might have heard of before. His name's Shohei Ohtani. If he's in the lineup tonight, that's going to be very ideal. He's in a tremendous spot at the top. We have Jared Walsh in this lineup as well, Brandon Marsh. But, I mean, Ohtani's just going to be an absolute monster play tonight, taking on Mize with his splits against lefties for sure. You got to like Shohei Ohtani. John Means taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. He's really had some issues with keeping the ball on the ground against right-handed power this year, taking on the Tampa Bay Rays that have made some big improvements in their lineup against left-handed power. They were a lineup that, left-handed pitching. They were a lineup that sucked against lefties all season long. Now they acquired Nelson Cruz. Of course, he's going to be a great play. Randy Arozarena, Wander Franco, Yandy Diaz, Manuel Margot, Jordan Luplow mashes lefties, Mike Zunino mashes lefties, and Mike Brousseau mashes lefties. There is a lot of pinch hit risk in this lineup. Once you get past the lefty and they go to the bullpen, bad bullpen, you guys might get pinch hit for. Just keep that in mind with guys like, G-Man Choi off the bench. So, it's a great spot. Just keep in mind your hitters are definitely going to have some pinch hit risk. And then once we get past them, we mentioned Bailey Ober taking on Cleveland. He does have some hard contact issues. Honestly, Cleveland's just not been good, though. I mean, if you want to go to Cleveland, it's once again a situation similar to the Detroit game where we talked about maybe pitching Bundy, maybe playing the Detroit bats. That's a very similar situation here with the Cleveland Indians. You're going to maybe want to play Bailey Ober. He's on a limited pitching count, but also has given up a lot of hard contact. Maybe go to these Cleveland Indians. They do have quite a bit of power through the middle of the order with guys like Ramirez, Franmil Reyes, Wilson Ramos, Bradley Zimmer, Amner Rosario, and Miles Straw at the top can get on base. Once you get down past that, the bottom line is just really not that great. But, you can get them low for that reason. And if you want to go to them, the Minnesota Twins bullpen is terrible as well. It's definitely a viable spot. Just not one I'm getting all too excited for, if I'm being honest. And that's pretty much it. If you want to be really contrarian, we do have a Miami Marlins matchup here where the opposing pitcher, does have a 505 slug and get up to righty. If you want to play some Miami Marlins righties, guarantee you get them very low owned. But that's about all you got for this slate today. Before I let you guys go, got to give you my home run call of the day. Let's get into it. And my home run call of the day today is going to be Will Smith taking on Will Crowe. We had mentioned his hard contact issues specifically against right-handed hitting. He has some major reverse splits issues going on this year with a 579 slugging unit up to righties, a 410 WOBA. Taking on a catcher tonight, which I always like to throw into my home run call when possible because you're going to get them low owned. A lot of guys really not all that focused on the catcher position when building their lineups. And when breaking down the repertoire that Will Crowe goes to, it's going to match up very well for Will Smith. On average, goes to the fastball about 40% of the time. That's about a 93 to 94 mile an hour fastball, and Will Smith crushes that pitch. A 531 ISO with a 506 WOBA. And the secondary pitch that Will Crowe's very reliant on is the slider. He'll go to that 36% of the time, and Smith crushes that as well. A 283 ISO with a 348 WOBA. You can get a low-owned guy in your lineup tonight at the catcher position. Specifically on FanDuel on DraftKings, he might rack up some ownership, but I think he's a priority for me tonight. Great spot. Get him in your lineups because he is my home run call of the day. So there you have it, guys. Will Smith, get him in your lineups. Great spots for the Dodgers. Great spot for Will Smith. Wish you guys all the best of luck tonight. If you did enjoy the content, if you could please take a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell before you bounce out the door. Go ahead and win some money tonight. Wish you the best of luck, and we will see you in the next one.